Hello, so Brupeg, we are sorting out our rudder shaft. So we've got our bearings in. Last week you saw us put these in, we got the top machined off, we got our grease lines done. Today we're doing the yoke and the rudder shaft, getting those assembled, figuring out how long to make the rudder shaft, and then assembling it all to our rudder, which is about to be picked up and taken away for sandblasting. The yoke here I've just water blasted up to get all of the rubbish off. There was a wee bit of grease and random crap on it, so I've cleaned that all out. The key is a bit sort of manky, so I'll probably give that a bit of a file just to make sure that's nice, and I'll give this area here a flapper up. I am pondering about getting a machine shop in town just to give that a quick skim, just to make sure that it's because there's quite a bit of rust on that one there. And I'm thinking this has probably got rust on it to the level that it's got, because it was never getting as much grease as what it really should have because of the way the old grease lines were set up. It's just a guess, but doesn't matter anyway. So might give that a skim. What I need to do is fit it onto this taper here, and then figure out from the bottom, wherever it sits on the bottom here, I need to figure out from that distance there down so that I can work out exactly where to get this flange here welded on. This flange, it's got a I forget the word for it, but it's got a doodad that sticks out the bottom so you can align it on the top of the rudder. And then on the rudder over here, if we spin this around, you can see it's got the equivalent recess machined into this top here. So the plan is basically, because these 4 bolts, obviously you know this is all fully welded to the rudder and everything, so I need to bolt that flange to this and then figure out where our front is, and then that gets translated up onto the shaft back over here. We have to translate where the front is on this shaft here, because of that key, I only get one shot at lining it up. Before this yoke goes off for sandblasting in a few minutes, I need to do some modifications. So this arm that's up here used to be for the old tiller angle position sensor. So I need to get rid of that because we're putting a new one on, and it basically looks garbage, so we're going to get rid of that. So I'll do that before it goes for blasting, so that I'll get a nice blank piece of steel and I don't have to do any work to it after the fact. So I just went and fitted the yoke to the shaft, and I just assumed that it wouldn't go on first time round.
But it did. It went on really easily the first time.
The 2 things I just nipped off and cleaned are basically these 2 pieces here. They're essentially a collar, and they bolt together like that and go around the shaft. So that diameter that's in there fits perfectly on the shaft with a small gap so that you can clamp them up really tight. And these are essentially the things that lock the shaft from being able to move up and down, and therefore the rudder being able to move off the bottom pin. So this system is a real basic system, really agriculturally basic, but it's bulletproof, and it's what most of the trawlers around here seem to use, essentially a version of this to keep their rudders in, because it's such a simple and efficient way of doing it. I need to figure out exactly how far this flange needs to go down, so just move that away for a sec. Okay, so 1002 is my measurement up there, which includes the allowance for the thrust bearing at the top. 177. 77. Brupeg's built using imperial measurements. I was hoping this day wouldn't come, but I have to actually utilise imperial to try and be accurate. So it's 15. So it's just shy of 39 inches. So this shaft is not stainless steel. Originally it was a 316 stainless shaft. However, this is stress relieved hydraulic rod, so it's a steel rod with a chromoly coating, or chromium coating I think it is, something like that. But it's stronger than stainless steel, and the outside is harder than stainless steel, than 316 stainless steel. So theoretically, this is potentially a better shaft than a 316 stainless shaft. People might be a bit nervous about rust and things like that, but I mean the whole boat's built out of steel. If we can protect that from rust, we can protect a single shaft from rust. The flip side is it's a completely grease-filled tube, so there's no chance of rust in the inside anyway, because it's chocker full of grease, plus the chrome doesn't touch anything, so there's no chance of that wearing off. The bearings are self-lubricating, they're soft, so compared to the shaft itself, so if anything wears, it's going to be bearings rather than shaft, I hope, assuming we don't get grit and rubbish in our grease. And the flip side is, this is also a low-cost shaft to replace, so if we ever have to replace this, it's nowhere near as expensive as having to replace a 316 stainless shaft. So I wouldn't use this for a prop shaft. I'd still go with 304 or 316 for a prop shaft, but for a rudder stock I'm happy enough to try this as a test. All the data indicates that it should theoretically be better, but yeah, we won't know until we've probably ran it for maybe 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Either way, the old one wore out and it was kind of useless. We couldn't repair it, we couldn't do anything with it, so there's no real harm loss there. What the plan is with this, we're going to get this machine, so that line there is where that flange has to sit, the bottom of that flange has to sit on that line. So what I'm thinking is actually getting it trimmed up sort of in here somewhere, like maybe say 5-6 mil in, 1/4 inch in, something like that, and then I'll take this off. And then basically the shaft will finish sort of up in here somewhere, and then what I'm thinking is actually getting to run a weld all the way around in there, and then just do a very light skim and clean all of that up so that it's flush once they're finished. They'll also have a big full penetration weld on this side here as well, so all the way around the shaft. So that's what the plan calls for, and yeah, obviously it's strong enough, I think. I'm hoping this is going to come off. Oh, you beauty. I think we're just about done on that actually. Maybe it's time to align this shaft. So we've got to align this rudder. How do you do that when you can't do a string line? So the rudder shaft on this boat is on a slight angle forward, so if we were to put a string line in, obviously it's going to hang straight down, not going to give us the line we need. We can get it, if you're looking down the length of the boat, we can get left to right easy enough. That's just using a string line will do that, because you can obviously see if it's going to hang straight. However, we can't do the forward to back. So the trick that we're going to use, we've got a big long length of 2.5 inch stainless exhaust pipe. And we're going to try and feed that all the way down through the bearings and then onto the shoe at the bottom of the keel, and then mark out where our centre is, so that when we get our new pin that goes at the bottom of the rudder, we'll be able to put that bang on and it's going to be exactly where we need to. The other side of way we can check that the pipe is absolutely straight is spin it. So when it's in that setup with the bearings and everything, is actually just rotate it around, and if it's doing a concentric loop on the keel, we know that it's actually bent. If it's not doing that, we know it's a straight line all the way through, and then we're pretty good to put our new keel shoe on and get that all welded up. Before I forget, this is all theoretical because normally a trawler doesn't have a roof at the back of it, so you can stick a great big long pipe all the way down the rudder bearings. We've got a roof, so I don't really know if this is even going to fit. If it doesn't, I have to come up with another plan. I realise there's some blemishes on this pipe, so I'm just going to go through with some fine 240 grit and basically just clean it up, because they're just going to jam in the bearings every time we try and move it through. Alright. Let's go see if we can actually fit this. So the challenge we have, our bearing's basically just down there in that hole. It's only about maybe, I don't know, 8-10 inches below the level of the deck, so it's not significantly big drop going on there. There's our stainless pipe, and we've got the roof right above it. I know it's a bit hard to see in this light, so we can rejig it. There we go, roof right above it. So the physical distance between that surface there and the roof is smaller than the length of that pipe. Not by a lot though. So what I'm thinking, if I whip that bearing out, I'm probably going to get a bit more room to maneuver. So my thought is take the bearing out, slide it up the stainless shaft, put the stainless shaft in the tube, and then put the bearing back in. And it's a bit of mucking around, but I think we might be able to do it that way around actually. Here's what I prepared earlier. So what my plan is basically to slide it down without these in, and then I'll fit these last, and that'll give me the alignment, but I'm hoping to get enough clearance by not having these in to be able to get it just past that issue with the roof. Give it a shot, see if it works. Oh, you beauty! Okay. Let's see what that's like down the bottom. So with the shaft in, you see the bottom bearing there holding it central. That there is basically our rudder shaft alignment. So what we need to do is weld on a fitting down the bottom here that's going to hold the bottom of the rudder onto the keel there. Hence it's all been ground off and it's a bit rusty at the moment. But if I come this way, I'll just try and show you, get out of the light. It's pretty much dead on there. It's quite off to the left hand side by probably 10 mil, maybe even half an inch, something like that. I don't know what it's like this way. Oh, it's pretty good that way. I'm happy with that. But yeah, that's quite good. That actually shows me where it should be sitting. I'll show you where it was sitting. I think this is a major reason why it was chewing out bearings. So originally the mount was bang on in the middle, but the bearings weren't lining up, and they were 2 inches this side and 2 inches that way. So the rudder's off for a sandblast. We'll get the yoke done at the same time. So all of the steel that we welded on, oh geez, it must have been 6 months ago now maybe, that's all going to be blasted to white metal, including all inside where the bearings are going to sit. And then when it comes back, I'll weld on some stainless bolts and we'll get our anodes bolted onto the rudder again. I thought I'd show you this. This is kind of like our command center when it comes to our cameras. So we've got 4 batteries for our drone. They all hang off this one, drag that out into the sun, you can see them. So you've got 4 batteries there that hang off this one black charger here. Then we've got 3 batteries charging simultaneously for our GoPro 5. And then we have 2 batteries always on charge for the Canon cameras. And then we have a spare that's basically that's sitting there like so. And we have 2 Canons. So I'm recording on an 80D at the moment. And that's the new one that's just arrived in the mail. I've just chucked our old lens onto it. So we've got 2 identical 80D cameras, and both of these have batteries in them as well. So we have 5 batteries sort of on a rotation with the Canons, and they get charged through this here. And then all of them are getting charged up in this corner here. You can see that's a USB charger with 8 ports. And up in the green here, it's a bit hard to see, but it tells you how much amperage each one is drawing, so we know you know, how full or discharged things are as well. And then we just have AA chargers over the back there for our we've got hard to see in the light. Over the back there you've got just AA or AAA charging depending on what you need for our wireless mics that we use.
This is the amazing 4-wheel drive wheelchair that Dane built for me. We went out, had a roll over the weekend, got a wee bit of fresh air.
You got ice like summer sky. If you're smart, could kill or die. And now it starts to rain, so let's enjoy it. I can't believe that this
So because my little welder's not powerful enough to weld this stainless to the keel, which the keel's about, I don't know, maybe 40 mil thick, something like that, and then that stainless is about 1 inch thick. So my little welder isn't powerful enough to do that. So got our mates at Anchorage Welding, and they're going to do it with their massive 400 amp welder.
Quite good there.
If we're within a millimetre, I'd say it's probably good enough.
Yeah, I think you are. Well and truly are. Face it. Eyes.
So what just happened by chucking that little tack at the front there, you come down here, you can see it's lifted it up off the steel, and it's pretty much perfectly aligned at that point there. There's a really good reason why it looks like I'm trying to make a rap music video. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with my eyes on fire from welding burn, so that was really fun. It's the 3rd time I've had it, and I got it because I forgot all about bloody welding burn, and I didn't have a mask on. You know, normally I'm the one doing the welding, so I don't get the flash in my eyes and all that sort of stuff. This time I was watching somebody else and I was filming it, forgot all about it, and basically nuked my eyes. However, we got back from the emergency room at the hospital, and this was awaiting us. Yeah, so Rudder, she's sandblasted, came up really beautiful. Really stoked with all of that. You can sort of see these are the welds that we chucked on it a while back when we did the wings. There's obviously a little bit of garnet left in that there I need to blow out. So yeah, the welds all came up, a bit hard to see with the light, but welds came up really good, really stoked with those. And then basically just piled lots and lots and lots and lots of weld onto it. I don't know if you can see any of that. Anyway, so the plan is we got the rudder done, we also got our yoke done, so we're going to go through and put some 2-pack on this, and then we'll roll it over and do the other side probably this afternoon. Came out pretty well, happy with that. So I've thrown one coat, well, one decent coat, 1.5 we'll call it, on one side, and then we've also painted up the yoke. So yeah, sort of pushed into, obviously not down the centre, but pushed down as much as I can in all the holes, and got a brush in there and got all up underneath it. Probably in sort of 3-4 hours when it's, you know, dry enough, we'll roll that over and do the other side. Might even be tomorrow morning, just depending on wind and all that sort of stuff. So it's dried up pretty good. It's quite, yeah, it's nice, and that'll work fine. So obviously I need to paint the underside. You might be able to see up under there, but it's basically not painted on the underside, so we'll roll that over today and get the first coat on the second side. The yoke has had a pretty decent smattering, so I'll probably give that a little bit of a sand on the top just to get it nice and flat and smooth, and then yeah, throw a bit more paint around that. That should be ready to go in the next few days, I'd say. So this morning's job, we're going to go and take this pole out. This is a 2.5 inch stainless exhaust pipe. Got to essentially take this out of the whole assembly. So because we've welded bits in down the bottom, we put the bearings in up the top, etc. It's pretty tight, it's pretty difficult, and we don't have a lot of room to maneuver, so we're probably going to have to cut this in half and pull it out in bits. That's okay, it was always a sacrificial piece, so we'll get that done this morning, and then we can start cutting our grease channels in our bearings. So that might not make sense yet, but we're going to basically cut some areas out of the bearings so that we can get grease to flow around different parts. What? Now that I got that out, let me show you the shaft and what they did at the engineers yesterday. This is the shaft that we measured up, and you can see they've done a big old TIG weld all the way around there, really big one. And then I got them to cut it 1/2 inch short at this end so that they could throw a TIG weld on the inside as well. So it's got two pretty decent double continuous welds on this flange, and then you might be able to see the flange is a wee bit shiny. Got them just to skim it so that it's true to the shaft. So that should be absolutely spot on now for what we need to be able to assemble it. We need to get grease on all of the wear surfaces in this system. So I'll show you what we're doing on the top thrust bearing, or the wear plate is what I've been calling it. These are the two bearings that we need to get grease all over. So this is our top bearing, and this is the wear plate that holds basically the full weight of the rudder. The reason why we only need to get grease to these two here is the bottom one will leak grease, and it's exactly what we want, but we don't need to actually try and make it do that. It's going to do it on its own just based on the design. That'll make more sense later on when we fit everything. So what we need to do, we've already routed out around this edge here where you can see we've got some clear material. That's going to allow a little bit of grease to travel out, but we need to add a bit more. So we are going to use this 45 router bit here. We're going to go around and buzz a 45 on this all the way around, so that no matter where this, because this can rotate any which way, so no matter where this is sitting, grease is able to get up into this groove. And then we are going to use the other router that I have, and you can see, let me put it into the light maybe, you can see the router bit that we're using is basically a little rounded bit. It's quite small, it's probably only 6mm diameter, and we're going to basically route out and around between these holes. We'll do that on the other side as well, and we'll have a 45 on this edge here, and that means when this bearing is sitting down like so, we're going to cut a channel in here and a channel down here like this, which will allow grease to flow up and over to the side, which will fill into this grease ring all the way around here, which will allow grease to come out all the way around this side and then also transfer through to the other side. So with those two things that we're going to make, we're able to grease the entire rudder shaft. Yeah, so you can sort of see it's not obviously cut perfectly centered, but it really doesn't matter. You just need a path that the grease can find its way up. So now that I've got that side done, I need to just buzz a path across there so that it can make its way to the 45. So when I put that on there like that, you can see the grease will work up the yellow bearing. It'll go across this path and then fill up this circle all the way around.
What are you doing here?
Alright, so just got to do a quick cut on that. Figure out how I'm going to do it. Probably just do it with the router, I think. So that's what I wanted to create, is basically just a channel out. So I'll go through with the craft knife now and clean all of these little nicks up, but that'll work quite awesome. Rightio, so grease from below this bearing flows up this path here, can come across the top, and then it makes its way into this channel all the way around here, and then goes out into the various grooves that we've routed in, and then it goes through the holes that are over here to this channel here, so it can make its way all the way around here, and then grease also gets trapped in these pockets here that have been routed out. So this whole setup here should allow quite a bit of grease to get on this wear surface now. So we're just about ready to start putting this shaft in. Next step is to head down into the engine bay underneath where I am now and start putting some grease through those new lines. Right, in a semi-professional manner, commencing lubrication. If it's going somewhere, I'm hearing inappropriate sounds. I think we're good. Let's go have a look. This is my setup to tell if it's working. We're looking through a camera, through a pipe, and I can't tell. More grease. Alright, we'll keep going. Commencing lubulator. I'm hearing farty noises. Go have another look. Oh yes, look at this. Come on camera. Focus. Focus. Look. Ta-da-ta-da! Alright, so we've got the grease working. We've got the tube cleaned out. Crikey, I'm quite close to the lens. Now it's time to fit the shaft, get the bearings in, and then get some grease squeezed out between the whole lot. There we go. I'm going to go through with 400 grit. Just give this whole thing just a quick sand down, clean up, etc., just to be absolutely certain there's no burrs on it. I highly doubt there will be, but either way, just get rid of them. Been to the machine shop, so it could have been dragged around a bit. Yep, a bit of paint on it, but yeah, so the plan is to basically go through, clean this up, make sure there's no burrs. I'll fit the bottom bearing to this thing and then push it up the top, and I'll fit the top bearing. I've got a little piece of plastic that I'm going to hold the whole thing up with. I'll put the top bearing in, and then I'll start fitting the yoke while it's up. Right, I am happy with that. Actually, I'm not even going to bother with 1,000 grit. This has come up perfect, so we're fine. You can get away with 400 grit on a lot of shafts. So, yeah, I think this will work out alright. Hello. Alright, so bottom bearing, get that on there. Lovely. Keep that for later. Oh geez, I'm not looking forward to lifting this. Ready? Yep. Hang on. Between the two. Yeah. To hold this from falling down. Yeah, it's good.
Is it on?
Yeah, I'm holding it in, it's fine.
Can I just lift it, can lift it slightly and I'll just get it.
Hang on. It's 40 kg.
I know, straight up, I know.
I'm not a weightlifter.
I know. Oh, it's going to fall down and I'm going to have to get you to move it.
I'm holding it.
No, it's falling now. I can't hold it.
Here we go, 3, 2, 1.
That's enough, thanks.
Fuck me.
Yep, well done.
Maybe start with that one that's a bit shorter.
Yeah.
So that's going to sit inside there.
Right, yep, that's fine.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
right, drop it down, yep. Ooh, lovely.
Done. Alright, let's try and get the other one in. Okay. Yeah, we'll get that in. Swap you. So, take that one out and swap that one over. 2, 1. Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, fuck, my arms are killing me.
Oh my god, a bit.
Okay. So, it's less helpful than you think now.
Oh, baby. Bro, 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 bro.
Now you don't give a shit about remedy, you're just interested in punching me up.
There's no way I can get the other one in.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Or the alternative is lift it up and slide something on top of that.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, but we're already up in there.
Is that too low?
Right there. So yeah, no, just put that in, put half of it. Okay, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, flint it.
Okay, coming down.
Yep.
Yeah. Done. You right?
Oh, yes, yes, flint it. Ow, 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 ow. Got it.
Alright, cool. We go on top now. That's done. That's all done.
It's all stable.
Oh, it's not going to move too far. Don't poke it.
Your medicine in your face.
Yeah. Go do it. 2 seconds. Yeah, wait for it.
This is just arrived from Chris. He's 3D printed. This is to house a gauge that'll. What does it show? The gauge indicator?
It's the rudder angle indicator.
Rudder angle indicator.
Tells me what direction the rudder's pointing in.
Right. So awesome. So don't forget a trial. This is the trial, right?
Yeah.
God, it's amazing. Look at that.
That's the test.
Yeah.
That's the test. So we're going to basically make sure it fits and it points the right direction and all that sort of stuff and the angle's good. And then we're making a new one that's going to be like all smooth and beautiful and so on. So this is just quickly mocked up just to figure out if it's going to work.
Amazing.
Cool, eh?
Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, that's pretty awesome. I got this from the channery. I'm going to weld those together like that. And that, you know, basically it becomes a piece that looks like that.
What's this for?
And this goes between the yoke and the rudder angle indicator.
Ah, right.
So as the yoke turns, this goes forward and back.
Oh, simple,
It
okay.
turns a lever on the little sender, which sends electric signals up to that gauge pod with the gauge and everything.
Right, now I'm cutting Dame off because he needs to put more antibiotics in his eyes. You know, you got the weld thing? Yeah, so
She texted me and she said
it was autocorrect.
Yeah. Oh, okay. She came down and she goes, "Didn't you get my text?" I was like, "What text?" No, I didn't get it. And I looked at my phone and she said, "It's time for your Antonio." So.
Are you putting grease in already?
Yeah. Putting heaps in.
Wow.
Probably all of them to get in without going.
God, it looks different when it's fresh, doesn't it?
It's quite nice when it's fresh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Plenty of goo. Okay, so we want to make sure that we've got our 45-degree facing up. Go like that somewhere. And then this guy, we'll steal some of that. clean enough. I'm going to use a piece of wood. Okay, you can sort of see there's a, let me show you around this way actually. So you can see right down, if I get right down and close, you can see there's the slot that we created by milling it out, and it's not, so that's looking directly fore and aft, so we've put it off about 1 PM roughly, if you're looking at the front of the boat. Probably would have put a bit more twist on that had I thought about it, but I completely forgot all about it. So either way, that's where the grease flows out, and it's going to flow onto the top of that plate, and you can already see through these holes down here the grease is starting to squeeze through from the bottom, which is exactly what we wanted to see.
Yeah, it's pretty damn cool actually. You made it look easier. I was expecting it to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going amazingly fast really.
It is, yeah, making really good time.
And thanks to Tony for blasting the rudder and the...
We got the rudder blade blasted the day before yesterday, or yesterday, by Tony. That was awesome. And then obviously all the machining and everything that was done by John. That made life really easy because it was just smick, like there was just nothing we had to rejig.
But it was like John's here. It's like when you're just hammering that down, I was thinking, yeah. You know? Yeah, thanks guys.
It's easy to fill your grease lines up right now than it is, the grease channels up right now than it is to try and squeeze it out into it later. Get your bubbles and stuff into it later or whatever. So if you're assembling engines and whatever, same thing applies. You want to try and fill all of your lines up before you start the motor up, because otherwise you're going to have airlocks everywhere. So you want to put your assembly grease or assembly lube, whatever it's called in your part of the world, fill that on all of your bearings, and just helps on that first startup, you know, that first sort of 5-10 seconds. Means the engine's not trying to rip itself apart. Okay, so that's that one done. We need our key. Piece de resistance. Oh, I put the rudder shaft in slightly on the wrong angle. I need to rotate it, and I'm scared if I do that I'm going to crash everything down the bottom, so I will go and get supervision while I do that.
Turn it.
Grab the square at the top and turn it, but I just want to make sure that nothing below falls down.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm with you.
So, yeah, whenever you're ready.
Let me know when you're there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm turning.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm on.
Thank you. Right, I need my anti-seize. I like using a lot of this stuff. If you use too much, you can hydraulic threads, but you can use quite a lot without hydraulicking the thread. So, you know, happy medium, all that. Basically, this stuff just stops the two surfaces from binding together over time, whether it's through something silly like rust or pressure or whatever it is that makes them bind. I don't really know. It makes your life so much easier in 5 years time when you go to undo this, because it just undoes. It's normal. It's great. All right, big nut. I'm gonna go and pull the stuff down the bottom apart and let this ease down. By ease, it's probably gonna go wallop, but let's hope that it doesn't. Oh. Okay. With that done, start hooking our hydraulic rams up. So that should spin. Oh yeah, that spins beautifully. There we have it. One currently turned hard to one side steering system. Right, so the reason why I wanted to put the rams on now, I know that this nut's only finger tight, but the reason why I want to put these rams on is that it allows me to tighten this up. So I should be able to now crank that up tight. We just need to go and find a socket big enough, and I'm almost certain that I won't have one. Every now and again you come outside and you see something at the other end of the yard that's just awesome. That's a whole field on fire. We're getting so close. We're moving everything out. You can see the old welder, the dinghy, our dinghy stands, batteries. We're clearing everything out so that we can have access to the rudder. So this whole area is pretty clear now. So I've just got to make sure all of these nuts go onto the bolts. So these are the bolts that hold the rudder flange to the shaft flange. And make sure that they all spin on easy enough without any burrs or dramas. This is the bottom bush for the rudder, and this is where the stainless pin slides up inside like so. It doesn't have any grease going down into this, so this is a self-lubricating plastic bush, and it's seawater cooled. So basically seawater, grit, sand, anything can flow in and out of this. So this is quite a exposed bearing, but the material itself is strong enough to be able to handle all of that, and it's designed to lubricate, so it lasts a pretty decent amount of time. 63. Oh, that's not good.
No, it's too tight.
Yeah.
How many mils was it?
We've taken half a millimetre off the whole thing. It should work its way lower and lower. It's not really working its way lower and lower. So we've got the rudder back off. The plan, this bottom bearing here has got too much, the ID is not big enough, so we're going to sand that out. We're probably going to do it with emery cloth, bit of PVC pipe, something like that, and just sand it out by hand to start with and see if we can open that up. If we can get that to happen, it's going to go on that pin way easier. Okay. .4 50.8. So we've got 0.2 either side to go. Coming out really easy.
So it's working.
Yeah, it's working.
Beautiful. You're the man.
Put it on the shank if it goes through this.
Yes, it would be better.
Yeah, right.
They're stainless, but it just helps a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
You're optimistic it's going to fit in the bottom?
Yes,
area?
I'm very optimistic. So it's sitting on that bottom bearing still, isn't it?
No, just wobble it back and forth. There you go, so she's going there. I hate to tell you.
Okay, so that's awesome.
How's that possible? You measured it.
It's obviously still too much interference at the front.
So it is.
50.6. See, this is why I thought it would fit, because I was thinking, like, it's only 0.1 either side, like, that'll be fine.
No. Proper reamer.
54, yeah, okay, so it's the sides up here.
Yeah. It'll be this hard, eh? Where the welders were.
Yeah. Clearly they didn't machine it after they welded it.
They wouldn't have machined it after they welded it. Be very unusual for that to happen.
Yeah, so I've got 50.8 that way, which is exactly the pin diameter.
Yeah.
And then 0.4 that way.
Yeah.
That explains it. side. Alright, here we go.
Make sure you get the good side, eh?
I did 2.5 minutes to this whole process on the episode.
Have you?
The highlights.
The swearing and
fun.
45 minutes of.
I think it's way overboard. Left back.
The thing that used to piss me off is when you're coming up and then you go back down and you end up with a big straight down. I was like, no, I was like. Used to
Trying to get that even.
Trying to get a perfect day. I used to spend so long doing that.
Where will you go? Won't you miss the ones you know? I'll be here.